Guys, welcome back. Welcome back, or welcome to, and hello. How are we doing? I haven't talked to you guys in forever. I know. I haven't made a video since, can you believe this? First semester. Hey, what? Where'd the year go? Anyways, today's video is a bit different. It's even set up different. That's how you know it's different. That's why we're over here instead of over there, if you've seen my other videos. This video is for my Red class. Hello if you're tuning in from Ret 105. How are we doing? This is my genre remix final project for this class. Guys, we did it. Well, we made it. Okay, cut it. What we're talking about today is something that I actually have like a very deep interest in, considering I did write every paper in my Ret class this year on this topic. Ready for this? Caffeine and college students. Two things I am all familiar with as a college student myself who drinks a lot of caffeine. So, what does this mean? A college student, okay, what does this mean? That's not what I would say. What does it mean to you? You, the viewer. Are you a college student? Do you drink caffeine? If so, you're at the right place. Okay, I'm done. I tried to do an intro. I'm never very good at intros. Sorry about that, guys. You know that I'd rather just sit down and talk and say what's on my mind. So, I don't know. I guess we'll start with a fun fact. Did you know that 92%, I'll say that again, 92% of college students drink caffeine daily? That is crazy. That is a crazy number of people. I mean, that is in the United States. This source is by Adabino, by the way. Also, I will have a link in the description of this video to my paper if you would like to read it. The paper that this is based off of, if you would like to read that. Which will also have all my sources at the end of the paper. So, 92% of college students are drinking caffeine daily. That is like a staggering number. Like, I don't even think, like, it's like an unfathomable amount. That's almost every college student. All but 8%. That's wild. And this is across America. So that's a lot of people. And so it's like, why is this happening? Like, what is causing college students to drink all this caffeine? You know, it's your typical stuff, you know, like, it's final season is approaching, and I've noticed myself, I'm drinking a lot more caffeine. I've noticed the coffee shop lines are longer. I've noticed that the vending machine has been out of Red Bull. It's not Red Bull, it's Monster. I wish it was Red Bull. But no, it's just things like that. It's like, it's getting to that point in the year, and everybody's getting tired, and everyone's staying up late studying or going out, that everyone's drinking more caffeine to replace that. And also, there is a source by Nicole Olson who absolutely touched great on this topic, and like her whole paper is super duper interesting. If you have time, I would absolutely go read that. She published it in the New Hampshire Scholars Repository, and it said that users, especially college students, find themselves drinking caffeine because it increases their energy, alertness, and sociability. And that last one stuck with me a little bit. I was like, sociability, that is so interesting. College students are drinking caffeine to feel more social, which is so interesting to me. And so after like thinking about this a little bit, after reading Olson's source a bit more, I remember myself walking into a coffee shop a couple of weeks ago, one of my favorite shops on campus. It's called Espresso Royale, and if you've never been, you need to go. It's so good. I went into there, and I was like looking around at all the tables and everything, and I'm noticing there's a lot of people there not studying, which is like not typical for a college town coffee shop. I feel like, at least, like when you go into, you know, the shops that are more like, that are closer to like the more like academic side of campus, like by all, you know, the buildings and stuff like with classes in them, everyone in those shops is like studying. You don't typically see people just sitting down and talking. However, at this coffee shop, at my favorite one, I walk in and it's just a bunch of people talking. And I found that so interesting. And I was just like, how many of these people sitting here are drinking caffeine and drinking coffee just because they want to be social with their friends? I was like, oh my goodness, it's just very interesting. And like Olsen goes on to say in her article that like due to the societal structures around colleges and like in the sense of like how readily available caffeine and coffee is and how it's such a supporter of that socialization, that students consume mass amounts of it. So not only are 92% of students consuming caffeine, a bunch of them are also consuming a lot of it at the same time. And so ignoring the health effects of caffeine and ignoring like everything that negative that comes with it just because it's such a proprietor of being in a social setting. And so that kind of brought another idea to my mind of like, so if caffeine is able to influence peers just due to, it being such a proprietor for socialization, because it's like, hold on, sidebar. What I mean by that is like, how many times will your friends text you and be like, hey, you want to go grab a coffee? How many first dates or coffee dates? How often do you just like want to stay up later with your friends so you grab an energy drink? Like this happens all the time and we're not even realizing it. And so like socialization as a whole is a reason to be influenced by your peers. You see what I'm getting at? So like take away the part of the caffeine, even though that's what we're talking about. Forget about that. Say you want to stay in and study. You're staying in, you're studying tonight, you're not doing anything. And then your friends come up and they're like, hey, do you want to go out? Do you want to come hang out with us? Like, we're going to go do something. And then all of a sudden you're going out. That's peer influence. You are influenced by your peers to go be social. And so caffeine plays into that, and so does just like societal norms. And I just find that really interesting that caffeine plays such a big role into that. And so I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about that whole like overconsumption thing. And then I was thinking how much of this, consumption makes it be at a point of addiction. Because you hear it all the time. People joke around, they're like, oh, I'm addicted to caffeine, or like, I can't stop drinking coffee or whatever. But how true is that? And like, how much caffeine can you drink? How consistently can you drink it before it becomes an addiction? Or when does that addiction start? Because it's like, okay, if you're drinking caffeine every single day, just like occasionally, some people would consider that occasionally. I would say that's pretty frequently, but some people are just like, occasionally. If you're just drinking it, maybe to stay up, maybe to go see your friends, maybe because someone asked you on a date or something, is that still like occasional? Or is that stepping into the same patterns that addictions begin in? So after I was thinking about this, I went and looked it up. And a source is called Synergy Health. They say that all addictions start as casual. And so like what that means is like you start using something in, an occasional sense. It's recreational. However, it can quickly, fester into a full-fledged addiction. I say as I drink my caffeine. But no, I just found that really interesting is how, hey, caffeine's a drug. Caffeine is a stimulant drug. And people are consuming it every single day. People are consuming it every single day. Every day. So it's very easy to see how easy it is to be addicted to caffeine. Just because there are so many reasons that people want to consume it, especially as college students. So like, if it's this easy to get addicted to caffeine just because, it supports socialization and it makes you stay awake, but, every reason, but primarily because it supports socialization and we're drinking so much of it, can other things like alcohol, stay with me now, fall into that same pattern? Can they be just as supported because of the way that they support socialization? Can they be consumed just as much just because they are seen so frequently in social settings. That blew my mind when I thought about that. And so I looked into it a little bit more. And I just, I came to the realization that, like, a sustained addiction to something is most of the time, if, I'm not going to say most of the time because I don't know everything about addictions. But, sometimes sustained addictions are not just due to the substance. But, usually there's some backing force behind that, like an encouragement to consume the substance, whether that encouragement is intentional or not. That driving force can be peer influence or peer pressure. So after, getting to the word of peer pressure in the sense of, like, socialization is a form of peer pressure. That push for socialization is a form of peer pressure. So after getting that word, I looked up another source, which is Resisting Peer Pressure, Characteristics Associated with Other Self-Discrepancies in College Students' Levels of Alcohol Consumption, published in the Journal of Alcohol and Drug Education by Elizabeth Crawford and Kinsey Novak, which speaks on peer pressure amongst college students. The article starts by mentioning how college undergraduates tend to increase their use of alcohol to match what they perceive to be normal. That's what it's all about. It's all a push to do what you feel like is normal in a social setting. And that's why college students are drinking so much caffeine past the point of, studying for finals or anything like that. It's because it works with socialization just like alcohol does, just like other things do. I found this so interesting to really, like, dive into how the two things can have such similar parallels, even though they're two very different substances. And so they go on to mention that, like, there are 3 different kinds of peer pressure. I have them written down here. But yeah, there's 3 different kinds. There's, like, explicit offering of a substance, like, hey man, do you want to go get a coffee? Or, role modeling. It's like, you see someone else doing it, and so you think, this is something I should be doing because it's normal. And that plays right into the third one, which is societal norms, like I just mentioned. It's normal to go get a cup of coffee or 3 with your friends. But is the reason behind that, and is the reason that we're drinking so much caffeine as college students because it helps with socialization so much? That's what I think. Guys, that concludes my video. I really hope that this, got your brain turning a little bit, just because, like, I just feel like this is such, like, an interesting thing. And like I said, my paper is going to be in the description if you did want to go look at that. I feel like it's worth a read. I worked really hard on it, and I would love for you guys to see some of my work outside of YouTube videos. I hope that a little bit of this, like, resonated with some of you, at least the part of, like, relating to the fact of, like, yeah, caffeine does work for socialization, just so I can know that I found my audience that works. So yeah, I hope this video was super kind of, like, educational and fun for you guys. It's like what I was trying to get at. It's like my purpose, to use my rat words. But no, I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Do something nice for yourself this week. Maybe go buy yourself a coffee. I'll see you later.